I've received so many comments like this based on a post I did a couple days ago regarding epigenetics and what we found based on the Dutch hunger winter. I spoke about this unique population that experienced a discrete period of famine during World War II when they were being starved out by the Nazis for about 6 months. And what the research has shown us is that for the individuals who were in utero during that famine and their offspring and their offspring's offspring, we are still seeing the consequences in their genes, even though they never experienced famine themselves. There are many, many effects, but the ones that are most commonly talked about refer to metabolic changes that exist in the grandchildren of those people who were in utero during a famine. The point being that things that happen to our ancestors have a direct impact on the expression of our genes generations later, even when we're not experiencing what they experienced. So the question that I'm receiving over and over again is, well, if that was the effect that we saw in a group that only experienced famine for 6 months, what must these effects look like in, for example, Black Americans whose ancestors were enslaved? So where is the research in Black Americans on epigenetics? We don't have much of it. And the reason is that we can't isolate the impact of what happened based on those individuals who were enslaved in this current generation or in any subsequent generations, because the trauma has been ongoing. It never stopped. Do we know about health disparities in Black Americans as compared to other races in the US? Absolutely. We see higher rates of chronic disease, hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, as well as mental health disorders, higher rates of depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder than other races in this country, among so many others. And this we know. But how do we specifically attribute those outcomes to slavery? It's nearly impossible because of the ubiquitous nature of oppression seen in Black Americans even now. So we rely on other studies, animal work, natural experiments for things that have happened for short periods of time in human history that help us to elucidate this information. But the epigenetic effects specifically are muddied by all of the other ongoing trauma. What is really important that we note and take away from this is that we have plenty of scientific evidence that intergenerational trauma is a real phenomenon. What happened to the generations before us lives in our genes. And I would argue that that very important scientific fact is not being given the consideration it deserves. You can read a lot more about that in this review article that was released by Social Science Information in 2020.